Hey guys, back at the Adams County Historical Society Museum, and I just want to show a little more of the Civil War stuff because I kind of did a general tour last time. Here in front of us we've got a battle-scarred canteen where a bullet passed right through it, and that belonged to Corporal William A. Hake, 138 Pennsylvania. This pistol right up here is really pretty neat, and the sword, because they belong to a man who was involved in a property dispute here in Gettysburg and actually killed the one of the people in the family's boss. So the Diggs were the people that were disputing the property of the Kitzmiller family, and this man Jacob Kitzmiller actually shot one of the Diggses and was absolved of the crime and found to be innocent. But he eventually served in the war, and that's his pistol. Got some really pretty cool artifacts here. The place is also very busy right now, so what else? There are a couple of neat things. Oh, this is neat. Sorry, there's it's just an image of Benjamin Keller Culp, who I didn't know. Okay, so I'm gonna get back to more of this in just a sec, but the Culp family was very, very big. There are a lot of family members in the Culp family, as you can hopefully read here. There you go. Benjamin Culp actually was detained, taken prisoner in the wilderness, and taken to Andersonville, the notorious prisoner of war camp in Georgia, where he eventually succumbed to most likely disease and starvation. This one's pretty neat. This was a hat belonging to a James F. Culberson with the 1st Pennsylvania Reserves, who was, not only did the bullet rip through the hat, but as you can kind of see in this drawing, went through his head as well. It passed through his neck and it exited behind his left ear. He was taken to a hospital. He actually walks out of the hospital, goes home, and lives until 1917. Really fascinating. Really fascinating. There's his hat. Oh, good, there's nobody in this room. So let's see here. Hopefully I'll get to a couple items in here. Where is it? Okay, so here it's you can't really make it out, but there's an amber type of Jeremiah Culp. I didn't understand. Again, the Culp family was really, really big, and I didn't know that he worked at a carpenter shop, which was sought after as not just a hospital, but actually an operation room, because the carpenter's table provided a perfect surface for that. And so he also made coffins there. I guess it says after the battle he was kept busy making coffins and helping families recover deceased loved ones. Not a nice job there, but if you're in the coffin business, then hey. And it just goes to show that there were a lot of people in the town, and about the whole Civil War in general, that kind of capitalized on things afterwards. And it's really should come as no surprise. See, here we've got gathering relics, and I didn't read this for before, so. Gathering relics. The battle and its aftermath strained local finances. Many residents, struggling to make ends meet, sold battlefield relics to the growing tide of visitors. Families often sent children and teens to scour the fields and yards for anything in sight: guns, bullets, scraps, buttons, personal effects left behind by dead and wounded. Artillery shells were the most dangerous items to recover, as many had not yet detonated. Tragically, these deadly souvenirs were the cause of gruesome accidents and several deaths. Most of the victims were children. So that's a pretty high price to pay for trying to recuperate losses. Here's a picture from Harper's Weekly of children on the battlefield gathering relics. But back to relics from the Sherfy farm, pretty cool. And it's kind of hard for me to make out here, but there are all kinds of ammunition, mini balls, rifle hammers, different kinds of items found from the battlefield in this little box here. It's pretty neat. But where was I? Oh yeah, so I didn't really tell the story of the Culps or the hosters. So now we've got Benjamin Culp, who we met just back there. We've got Jeremiah Culp, who was a carpenter. Oh, and by the way, outside of his hastily slapped together operation room, he it was one of those places where outside the window there were arms and legs just stacked up, probably stacked up to the window. But the Culp story is really fascinating. Never really told the story. So there were a couple brothers. There was also William and Wesley Culp, in particular, who get away from this room because it's real noisy. In the second Battle of Winchester, I think, yeah, the second Battle of Winchester, William and Wesley Culp were actually both there. Now, keep in mind, they're from Gettysburg. I'm sorry, and David Culp as well. Okay, so they're three brothers at the same battle. A lot of people know this story. The Gettysburg experts know this story and don't need to hear it again, but I guess for other people, I'll tell it real quick. So, to get this straight, William Culp is the only one who makes it out of there, more or less. I'm sorry. I forgot to mention, William and David were for the Union. Wesley Culp was with the Confederates. And, you know, this all kind of happened shortly before the war. Wesley Culp ended up fighting for the Confederates simply for the fact that he moved down there a little while before the war, got a job. I can't remember what job he took. I think it was some kind of metalsmithing, but he moved down to Virginia a little while before the war, not too long before, and just made friends and really liked it. And for that reason, pretty much, he actually ended up fighting for the Confederacy, even though the whole family was from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. See, I misspeak on these things all the time. It's horrible. I mean, I got most of my facts right, but sometimes I just misspeak, so forgive me. But, okay, so back to the Battle of Winchester. Union got their butt kicked. It was a real butt whooping, shall we say, in PG-13 terms. And so, let me see. William actually makes it back home. I believe he kind of makes an escape. I think he was briefly taken prisoner, perhaps, but he gets out of there. He makes it back to Gettysburg, walking, of course, which took a little while. David Culp was taken prisoner, and I'm getting these mixed up. I forget exactly what happened to him. I don't know if he... No, I'm sorry, okay. As we mentioned before, while another one of the Culp brothers was taken prisoner and died in Andersonville, David Culp actually, interestingly, ended up going through Parole, Maryland. A lot of people don't understand. I didn't know this, years ago, but Parole, Maryland, which is real close to Annapolis, is called Parole because that's where they had the official parole camp, which was largely abandoned after some time when things started to break down and prisoner exchanges started to break down. But David Culp was actually lucky enough to go through parole and eventually continue his life. Wesley Culp ended up coming back to the area, of course, to fight in Gettysburg. And so he was on, actually, Culp's Hill, where, I'm trying to avoid people. Wesley Culp was actually fighting on Culp's Hill, of course, which was where he used to play and hunt as a lad before things got nasty and the war started. And he was eventually shot on the morning of the 3rd. And the interesting thing is, he had a friend who he met in Winchester named Jack Skelly. Jack Skelly is the beau of Jenny Wade, the only civilian to die in Gettysburg. So, while in Winchester, Wesley Culp gets the letter from Jack Skelly and is tasked with delivering the letter to Jenny Wade. Unfortunately, the letter never makes it to her for two reasons. He actually looked for her in town on the 2nd, but couldn't find her at her home because she'd moved across town to, forget exactly the reason, but to be with a friend or to help a friend across town, maybe on Baltimore Street. So Jenny Wade wasn't actually at home, and he, of course, was also killed in battle. So it's a real funny kind of, degrees of separation story. And the last part to that that's interesting is nobody knows exactly where Wesley Culp is buried. A lot of .coms and stuff will tell you he was buried by his compatriots on the hill. But more than likely he was buried somewhere else, possibly underneath the old home or old farm. But I'm just about to my limit, guys. Just wanted to give you another quick little walkthrough, and I'll see you later.